Hello and welcome to the Film Ireland podcast. I'm Gemma Creagh, and in this episode I chat with writer-director Philip Doherty and the lead actor Aaron Monaghan about their fabulous film Redemption of a Rogue. So this darkly comic story follows Aaron's character Jimmy on the road to salvation after returning to his hometown. Amazing film, just so visually striking, so funny, really enjoyable to watch. I'll come to both of you actually, because the character of Jimmy is so strong. How do you guys build him together as a performer and writer-director?
Before he'd written this, Philip kind of knew how this film happened beat by beat. And I'm always talking about that first meeting where he pitched it to me, but it was so clear. And what really excited me and what jumped out to me was all the biblical references that he had in mind. And it's, he's called Jimmy Cullens, JC. So, I mean, there's not a huge leap of the imagination there. So that was a helpful motif in where we're going. And he's sort of like this bizarre, he's like this antichrist figure as well. I think when the script arrived, what was very obvious to me was that Jimmy is just kind of grey and black and kind of depressed, and he's just in an awful place, and he wants to end his life, whereas around him are all these amazingly colourful characters. I don't know if we ever talked about it, Philip, but I think the challenge for me became about not competing with all these other amazingly funny actors. It's almost like play the deadpan, play the straightness, let all the other characters be funny, because I think when you are in those kind of very dark places, whether it's like grief or depression or something like that, ordinary things in the world just seem absurd to you. So for me, it was like try and stay nearly as monotone as you can, but still go on a journey, and to feel reassured in that. And Philip held my hand every step of the way in that regard.
Because it's so strong. And actually, just before we go on to yourself, Philip, I just want to say, just chatting to you now, I know this is a podcast, but it's actually amazing, that physical transformation. You look about 15 years younger than you do in the film. I'm actually shocked looking at you. How did you do that? But it's all part of that transformational performance. This is the kind of character of him that you created, just completely.
It's the headset, I suppose, as well. But what Philip created as well, it's kind of easy in many ways.
I think we did a day off after that scene, so it was just a delight having a day off. I know, I'm joking. So the Jimmy Cullen. So Aaron was on board pretty much, thankfully, at the beginning when I pitched the idea to Aaron, and he said he'd love to do it, and that was just to have someone of his caliber. He's such an incredible actor on board. He's one of the best actors in the country. So that really kind of went after the film when I was writing the early drafts. So I had Aaron in mind the whole time while writing it. So I was able to visualize Aaron in each scene dealing with all these characters. So that really helped as well on that journey of creating that character. And, we kept in touch as well. We did some readings on it, and Aaron was generous with some ideas. So it was a collaboration, and a huge collaboration in that sense. And, Aaron made my life very easy. He's an amazing actor, and he brought so much to it. And it's a credit to him, what you see on the screen. And, but yeah, I never saw anyone else in the role really at all. And we kind of, we were able to talk about absolutely everything and keep in touch from costume, from look, and all those things from start to finish. So, and we kind of have a bit of a shorthand. We know each other from our teenage years as well, and that kind of helps as well. And we very much know that world that we grew up in, the pair of us as well. And it is kind of, for a guy that's going through such surreal thoughts, he's actually the straight character in this world filled with eccentric, larger than life beings.
Yeah, and it's a very rich world. And I will say this actually, from your theatrical background, Philip, it's such a visual story that's not, I'd say, the kind of common assumption one would make when you're going from theatre. You kind of make assumptions about things being very, very dialogue heavy, but it's just such almost like a graphic novel, mood wise at times. Like, it's such a spectacle. So can you tell me about, like, how did you achieve this going in? Like, was this all written as part of the text when you were doing the drafts? Were these things that you worked out with the DOP along the way? Like, what's your process there? Because it's as much a part of the narrative of the story as the actual story itself.
Cool. Yeah, so it's a combination of all those things. I tried to put everything on the page as much as possible, and I did go through quite a few drafts. I mean, before I wrote Redemption of a Rogue, and screenwriting, my background is in theatre, and I would have been used to writing plays, and I love writing dialogue. But theatre also is a visual medium as well, and I do love visual theatre. And when I direct theatre, I kind of want to make it as much of a spectacle as possible. But yeah, I do sometimes fall in love with writing long reams and reams of dialogue. So there were drafts where that was the case. So when I was writing the script, I probably, there was parts of it where I was kind of very aware of the playwright being the playwright, and I was maybe overcompensating at times for these long dreamlike sequences of visual descriptions on that as well. But I wrote a version of Redemption of a Rogue, and but it was very, very much as what you've seen. But I kind of bottled it actually after about 3 drafts, because I was finding it hard to get a producer who wouldn't take this on. We'd only €45,000 to shoot this. You can't do this, is basically what was.
Presume you got more.
We did. We got post-production, but that's what I had just at the time for Cavan County Council. Yeah. So, but
that is insane. I'm normally not allowed to ask about budget because people get very squirrely about it. Well, so I was like, I'd love to know how much that costs. Stop it. That is.
So yeah, I'll go back to the writing in a little bit, but I will tell you a little bit about that, because the small, tiny amount of money, and my ignorance was an absolute blessing, I think, on this. But we were making theatre shows in Cavan with this incredible team of designers and visual artists and set builders and actors and musicians. So we were making big theatre shows on tiny budgets, like theatre shows with 150 people. So the natural step with this incredible team was to make the leap into a film. And I knew if we could do it anywhere in the world, is with this team in Cavan and with the community behind it, that we could pull this off on this budget. And the community did come in behind it in kind. But having said that, so I wrote it with that in mind. No, we can do this. And my brother's production designer, he can do anything. But I kind of got a little bit of cold feet at one stage where I was like, no, we can't. And I wrote a different version, which no one will ever see. Sadly, Aaron did see it, which was just lads shouting at each other in rooms. And it was very much the playwright making a film, and it was all dialogue based. It wasn't very visual, it wasn't very cinematic, but you could pull it off, in the space of time. So Shane Connaughton, the writer of My Left Foot, and Eugene O'Brien as well, was a big help. They're both experienced screenwriters, but Shane Connaughton in particular, he read both drafts, and he was like, he loved Redemption of a Rogue, and he had problems with the other one, and he drove down to my house in Cavan and said, Philip, you have to make Redemption of a Rogue. I don't care how you do it, you just have to find a way. That's the film you need to make. And he was so complimentary and referencing all these art house filmmakers, which, I hadn't consciously had in my mind while writing it. And so he gave me the confidence boost, because I was at the crossroads at that time, and I was just no stopping then after that. We were able to find a way, and the universe does have a way of providing, because Pale Rebel came on board then as well, and they were able to pull a brilliant camera team on board on that. So it was very much on the script, but then I was able to collaborate with the most brilliant people. My brother was a production designer. He had an army of volunteers and visual artists working on the project. The community of Cavan, as I said, Bershie Wagner then came on board, and he was so generous with his ideas, and we looked at the style of this, and it does feel a little bit like a neo-Western, and shooting it in widescreen and anamorphic lenses. So it was a wonderful collaboration with him. I loved that. So it was then, after the script moment, it was working with those wonderful people that helped kind of bring it in and realize what you saw in the film. So it's all down to the people that I had, and I'm just so grateful for those wonderful, creative, imaginative, beautiful people.
And as well, I suppose you're keeping a lot of cooks out of the kitchen, and you get to keep your unique voice without having to put it through too many filters as well, which is a sort of good for something that is so like its own style, its own unique voice. And I like it's a joy to watch, and I am such a massive fan of that dark humor. So I'm just gonna go back to you, Aaron, and I'm like, you said you would let those characters kind of do their thing. Was there room for people playing around? Like there's some great faces in there. There's some brilliant kind of almost these heightened versions of these familiar characters. When it comes to timing and getting that comedy across, was there playing around on set? Was the edit very important? Like what? Okay, so how did you as an actor do it first?
Well, I think that comes down to Philip again. I mean, everything you've talked about so far was on the page. You know, all those ideas. And I think very little changed on the day when we were shooting stuff. It was very, very clear. So we didn't change lines really at all. He writes very rhythmically as well, and you can kind of tell that a lot of the time the delivery is deadpan. So yeah, very, very little changed on the day. The difficulty is, I suppose the difficulty in playing the straight man to all these other funny characters is trying not to laugh and trying not to compete and be funny as well, because that's kind of where it falls dead. But no, I mean, I remember the only thing that we were allowed to play with, I think, not that we weren't allowed to play with, but like the fight scene with Kieran Roach, which was the first day. Yeah, like I remember it was just a big wide angle, and like we kind of did the first couple of beats, and it was like, and then we're just going to go to this big wide angle, and we've one take because we're pressed for time that day, and it was Kieran's first day on set as well, and we'd never met each other. And it was just go for it. And I think like it's cut a lot, but we did like, I think it was a 9-minute take or something like that of us just kind of badly messing like brothers would do, not officially fighting at all, just kind of like, but that was correct.
Even in that, and I'm like, you're definitely selling yourself short. You were allowed to take some of this credit now, but there's even just this beat. Like this is what I think about the timing working so well and adding to that humor. Like there's just this beat where, you know, like the two lads see each other again, the brothers see each other again. They spend a bit of time. It looks like it's going to be a warm embrace, and then there's a beat, and then there's a head. What is it, like, not to give too much away, like it's not that far in, but like, and then there's like a headbutt, and what I think is like, it's just the timing of that is so spectacular. Like, and I do think like the delivery of stuff, like I'm sure it's a mix between you two, and also some very, very, very sharp editing, but it is lovely. Like it's that pacing is perfect for comedy, and it's all about timing. Do you know, like if that was a be too quick, you'd lose that moment of setting up our expectations as an audience, and then because like I'm sure you get loads of laughs. So actually, speaking of which, because the visual spectacle is so important, because the humor is so important to this, did you guys get to see it in a cinema much with the thing? Because this is something I can see really, Jesus.
So for the go with Film Fla, and you know, it's my first feature, so I don't know any better. So Gemma, so I bought a big telly, you know, I treated myself to that, and I actually had a red carpet here, and we put it out. But no, I hadn't seen it, but it did feel like a premiere, because just text messages coming in. There was a wonderful buzz around Cavan at the time, and social media, everything, and the nerve certainly felt like it was a premiere as well. But as regards to the big screen, it was here. But I've seen it once on the big screen, and it was recently, just a month ago, in Greece, in Kymelos, at the Kymelos International Film Festival. And it was just, I forgot that I'd never seen it with other people, and mine on a big screen. And it was in Greece on a beach at a full moon night, with the full moon was shimmering on the sea behind. It was just this beautiful, surreal, magical moment. And then it's in subtitles as well, and but the Greeks were laughing so hard at all the black comedy, even the GEA scenes they just loved. And I was like, oh my God, the Greeks are getting Irish humor, and that was just such a heartwarming feeling. So that was the one and only time, and it was wonderful. But hopefully we'll get to see it soon together on the big screen.
I can't think of a film that would be more satisfying to watch as people who've worked in it on a big screen with other people. It's like that feeling of you've paid your dues, so you've worked very hard, and you get to like reap the rewards of actual pure laughter. Because like I was laughing by myself, and I never do that like for those moments. So it must be very satisfying. So yeah, go out there now that things are opened up and make sure you go to as many screenings as possible. So that you'd be delighted.
Oh, definitely. I'm going to sneak into the Midlands somewhere and just go into some random cinema. I haven't decided, but just drive in the car and find one. Yeah, I can't wait.
So anyway, I do definitely want to go back to the shoot. So how long was the shoot, and how did you get all that rain?
21 days or something like that. It was pretty intense, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was about 3 weeks. Yeah, it was about to 21 days, and it was very intense. But I think everyone, because of the small budget that we had, everyone was on board on this just for the pure passion of making films, and it was pretty much most of the crew's first feature film. Certainly, all the heads of department, was all our first feature film, so we all had that labour of love as well. But everyone, even though there were long days and we were getting a lot of footage, and there were tiring days, and Aaron was in the rain, and we were, it looked like I was trying to kill one of the best actors in the country. With rain, it was a joyous experience from start to finish, because people were there in the right attitude, and they were there for the pure love of making films. So we crammed in a lot with all those days, but we were laughing on set, and all those comedic moments, and it was just it was such a brilliant team that we were working with. And then the rain, Aaron can Aaron had to suffer a lot because of the rain, so an official public apology.
Sure, it's a bit of damp.
Get on
so what was it like? Was there a rain machine going the entire time? What was the...
No. I mean, I think Philip has said before that like the cost of a rain machine would have blown the budget in 2 days. So and like I think it rains in 80% of the film. So he got this amazing crew together that made their own rain machines. Like there was one point where I think it was the fight scene that there was a rain machine that covered pretty much the entire street of one of the towns that we were filming in, and got the entire cast and crew soaking wet. So you could do these really big wide shots. It was kind of astounding what they managed to do. It was just, there was cranes, there was tractors, there was big tanks of water. It was amazing. It really was.
Yeah, because like the only way it would have more of a spectacle that, or be more difficult to shoot, because I was seeing this and I was like, that must just like, I couldn't believe the cost that is if it had like a load of animals in it, like a load of them.
We did
like
2,000.
That could be your next one. Yeah, 1,000 of them, and they all have characters and roles.
That was in an early draft, actually. But no, yeah, as Aaron said, like we had very little money, so we had to think on our feet. You had to be inventive, you had to be imaginative, and working together for so long in theatre, a lot of the production team, that underpinned everything. We had that shorthand. So Shane Carroll led his team that were called the Water Boys on set, and he collaborated with the fire service and local plumbing companies and the Cavan County Council. So everyone was a real collective artistic spirit in pulling this off. And it wasn't that we can't do that, it's how we can do that. And everyone was coming up with solutions left, right and centre. So that was, and it was such a satisfying experience for when it all worked out.
Stunning, like really, really stunning. And I just want to go back, actually, sort of go right back to the writing process, because it's just, you said there was a bunch of different drafts. So did this idea always start off as a film for you? Was this like, I know this format is a film, or was it a play and then you were playing around with it? Like how did it kind of gain life?
That's a good question. it's fun. I've never adapted the play onto screen yet. Maybe I'll get an opportunity someday. But this idea I had for quite a while, for about 10 years, and I was ignoring it, and you have to pay attention, I think, to those ideas that stay with you. Because you could have an idea a day and you think this is an amazing idea, and then you forget about it in an hour. But there's very few that stay with you, and this was one of them. And I always saw it as a film, and that's rare. Do you know? You might have an idea or something, or even an image or a memory, and you're like, is it a TV film? Is it a film? Is it a TV show? Sorry, or maybe it's a play. And you do have those questions, but that wasn't the case with Redemption of a Row. I always saw it visually, and it was that return of the prodigal son returning home was that imagery that I had early on, and I always saw it as a film. So, and that's unusual for me that it is so clear of knowing what it is. So, yeah, and then I guess I kind of. I wanted to do something as visually as striking as I could, and I think while writing it, I wrote a lot of it while listening to music as well. So I was listening to a lot of Delta blues and Tom Waits and getting myself in the mood while writing it in the Doors. And then I collaborated a lot with Robbie Perry. He's a composer and a musician in Cavan that I've worked a lot with over the years. So I knew what he could do musically as well. And those things, I think the music and the visuals really help create the imagery when you're listening to the music as well.
The sound design is absolutely spectacular. Like the beat, the mix, the levels, like everything, like it really does elevate everything without intruding, which is the perfect cocktail of things. So how long did that take? What kind of process was that? And did you, Aaron, do any ADR as well?
There's a little bit of ADR towards the end, but like not very much, no. Sorry,
just when there's so much kind of outside external factors, like when you're not on set, or when you're not in a studio, I'm just like, it's very clean as well.
Yeah, the two guys that did sound, the location sound, did an outrageously brilliant job. Like, I mean, I was kind of unaware of how tough the job was. I'm very aware now. But what they did was a huge achievement. It was Steve and Jamie that did the sound. So that was a huge help then for the post-production going in with Reagan to get the dialogue clean. And they did an unbelievable job. And so generous with their time and really invested in the film and really worked with me on it. It was a labor of love from them as well, and they really gave it as much energy and focus and time and great ideas as well on that. So yeah, again, it's the great collaboration of people, and it's all those people coming together with their expertise, and I'm just so grateful for everyone to work on this. But yeah, that was it. And we had to do a little bit of fixing here and there on stuff, and he created some magic that I wouldn't have the technical expertise to describe.
So, and then finally, I just want to ask one really, really quick one, because I know we're running out of time, but it's okay. So the themes in this, I know Ireland is very much so a secular society nowadays, but has there been any backlash as well? Because you are, I don't know, like tackling, like I think brilliantly. I've no problem with it, and I'm well on board for. And it's not sort of mean spirited as well. Like it's quite like a kind of nudge and a wink type humor. But has there been any backlash?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Yeah.
I don't know if there can be. I mean, I for one, I love the religious themes running through it. I think it's like, and for me, like playing a character who has lost faith, not just in religion, but just lost faith in life, and that he kind of finds some sort of redemption or finds some sort of purpose. I think it's actually in many ways pro-religious, and maybe it's getting older. I don't have a stitch of faith in me in many ways, but I really wish I did. And I find the older I get, the more I see the purpose of religion and the kind of comfort it can bring. And I feel a little bit jealous of that. And that's kind of what drew me to the film since that first, a lot of what drew me to the film since that first conversation I had with Philip, that the purpose of it, that there are those moments of magic realism, or if you want to call them religion, whatever you want to call them, they're there in the film. So I think it's a film about faith in many ways and about purpose. So I'd be really surprised if there is a backlash. It's not blasphemous. It certainly pokes fun, but it also, I think the film also says that these things have a purpose as well.
And it's very, that's what I was saying. It's quite an affection, I think. And it's very warm. It's very kind of cutting of in a good way. But one of my favorite scenes overall is that moment where their Virgin Mary's like, do you have any fags?
That comes from personal experiences. That happened to me. No, I'm joking. It's interesting you say, and you know, completely agree with Aaron. Jimmy's on a spiritual journey, and I think all good films are the characters on a spiritual journey, and certainly Kubrick films, and it is got a lot of hope in that, and he is going from a dark place to a light place and to a hopeful place. So I think that should be life affirming, and hopefully it is for people, because no matter how dark things can get or how unbearable things can get, and they have been that way for some people over the last while, that humor actually can lift you out of that dark place, and you can always have a laugh, no matter how dark it is and how unbearable. Humor can lift you out and find that light on that, and that's why I've always been drawn to black comedy.
And help you process the pain as well. Like, I think it's not something that you shy away from in the text at all. It's the kind of, even though it is so magic and wonderful in many ways, like it is, there's gritty elements to it and dark topics. Like that moment, I think it's very, very funny, but that bleak humor where he goes in and he's like looking for rope to buy rope, and then just the back and forth and that kind of deadpan, like, well, what you need it for. But it's just, I think that's again really sings to people, because it's not sugarcoating anything either, you know, but in a way that's kind of truthful and has that humor to it, and it's not going, oh, everything is fine, which I think brings that depth to it. So it's such an enjoyable watch.
Cool. Thanks so much, Jen. I'm delighted you really enjoyed it. And, you know, a lot of that deadpan humor as well, it helps when you've got brilliant actors who've got funny bones, like Aaron, like Karen Roach, like Aisling and Liz, and all of them, Charlie, Lorna, all of them. And
great chemistry as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I've pretty much worked with everyone, except Aisling, actually, but I've seen her a lot on stage, and she's a powerful actor, you know. And Aaron's probably worked with some of them, with most of the actors as well. But I kind of, you know, I took my time casting it, and from the people I knew from around me, and I think that's probably one of the most important jobs as a director is the casting and finding the spirit of that person for the character. But that all helped with the humor, because it's the actors that are delivering the line, and that has to be, a lot of credit goes towards them. And I've always been drawn to characters. Maybe it's because, and even though you mightn't like them at the time, but just those honest characters, do you know what I mean? you kind of admire them as well, that they are so honest and deadpan and saying what they think, being kind of secretly in love with those people.
And it's so true, but there's the truthfulness to this that's such an enjoyable watch. So, but thank you guys so much for chatting with me. I've so much even now to think about. I'm so impressed by it. I think this has been my favorite Irish film that I have seen in a long time. This has been absolutely blown me away. So amazing work. You're getting your release now. So so that's it. Like it's out in the world. Your baby is born. So I'm sure you'll get a great reaction for it, because I think there's such hunger for something like this. But thank you guys so much for chatting with us.
Thank you.
Thanks for being, Gemma. Thank you. Bye-bye.